What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, August 4th, 2022. This is the weekly Ask Me Anything for the CrossFit Linchpin private track and the greater community. I'm mildly distracted at the moment. Thought I timed this and planned this very well. I put my baby down 15 minutes ago. She should have been just conked out asleep, but there she is, just moving around, not asleep. Doesn't she know that the Ask Me Anything has to happen here? So, she's safe and comfortable and contained, and hopefully she'll fall asleep soon. Matteo, I see you, sir, from Italy. Hello, right back at you. All right. I do this Ask Me Anything every Thursday. And it's funny, I say post topics and questions in the private Facebook group or the Linchpin BTWB Squads feature. And after I did that, as I normally do this week, and I realized what was going on with the games, I kind of thought to myself, I should just basically post, what are your questions about the games? Because who's kidding who? That's what it's going to be about. And, shocker, that's the most upvoted question. So let's dive right in, shall we? Day one of the games is down, kind of, somewhat. There was one event number 2, I believe, that had to get bumped to today due to rain. So let's get right in. The first most upvoted question is from Angela W. And Angela asks, what did you think of day one of the games? To be specific, athletes missing a lap in event number 1. Should they get a DNF or a time penalty? Ricky Garrard back after his suspension. Crossover, double under craziness, and other new rules, movements like strict pegboard and one-sided pistols. So some stuff to have fun with here. Here we go. Let me just start to dissect it. I've got some stuff on those topics and just some random thoughts as I was casually watching it on my phone or streaming on the TV yesterday. Okay, so let's start at the top. Athletes missing a lap in event number 1. Should they get a DNF or a time penalty? So event number 1, that was that bike to work, right? Where you had like 5 miles on the bike, 75 toes to bar, 5 miles on the bike, 75 chest to bar pull-ups. I think it ended with the bike is what happened. Then I think each time it was 5 laps on the bike, 5 long laps. And in the end, there are some athletes that did 4 laps instead of 5 laps. Came in, running to the finish line, ditched the bike, and I can't remember if it was Chase Ingram or Sean Woodland, they're calling the event live. And I must admit, I laughed out loud when this happened. I see on the screen these 2 athletes just scurrying, sprint to the finish. And usually in a sprint to the finish, especially in event number 1, there's going to be all this fanfare. You're going to hear Sean's booming voice, giving you some memorable call that will live in infamy. And there was this pause as you saw these 2 people running, and I was like, well, that pause is interesting. And then you just hear Sean say in a conversational tone, I think it was Sean, he says something to the effect of, well, that's not right. And I just thought the subtlety of that line absolutely cracked me up. So, look, while I wasn't there on scene, I didn't hear the athlete briefing, yada, yada, yada. I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one. I don't call this like a debacle or some crazy thing. I find it really hard to believe the number of laps for the first time that you were on the bike and the course was the same as the number of laps in the course the second time that you're on the bike. Everyone appears to have executed it properly, unless I'm mistaken. I'm totally open to the fact that I'm wrong. Their first time on the bike, because I have to assume that the athlete briefing was fair, detailed, and accurate. And so it seems like the second time that some folks were on the bike, they did what human beings tend to do every now and then. Shocking, they made an error. A human being made an error. And every now and then it happens at a live event that a lot of people are watching, and you wish it hadn't happened. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. The world kept spinning as far as I was concerned. And I chatted with somebody who was on site, And I'm relatively certain, again, always open to the fact that I'm wrong, but I'm relatively certain that the way it was handled was those individuals who did not do the proper number of laps, I think they went back into the footage and figured out what was their slowest lap. And then they took that slowest lap time and added that in to what their overall time should have been if they had repeated their slowest lap. And then therefore they fell on the leaderboard wherever they fell on the leaderboard. Without nuking it too much, that doesn't seem like a bad way to do it, because I also believe that your slowest lap was most likely the first one, which you weren't in a rhythm, you weren't pedaling hard the whole time. I think it was lap number 1 where there was some portion where you had to actually get on the bike first and run it somewhere, and so I think it arguably was definitely the slowest by far. So having that tacked on, to me it seems like not a bad way to do business. So again, unless I'm missing something, that seems like pretty well done, honestly. And yeah, some folks, I bet those 2 people who, or if it was more, that crossed the finish line early, really wish that they had not. I bet they really wish that they had another lap to just pound it on the bike as hard as they could. Okay, so that's that. Ricky Garard after his suspension. You know, this again, maybe some people have kept up with Ricky Garard a whole lot more than I have. Ricky Garard doesn't have a big impact on my life, so I haven't kept up with what he's been doing or haven't been doing. And my recalling of history will be generally accurate, maybe a bit fuzzy, right? But I know that he was, disqualified previously for, I'm just going to say, performance-enhancing drugs, right? What I can't remember, and maybe somebody in the comments here that's watching can let me know, if you know for a fact, not your opinion, but for a fact, since Angela's question wants to know, what do I think about Ricky Garard coming back after his suspension? My question was, does anyone remember, was Ricky Garard, after all of this happened, after it came to light, after he got his, title and accolades ripped from him, was he sorry? And I know that sounds maybe to some folks like a silly question, but I actually think it's important. Was he sorry? Was he honest about what happened? Did he avoid what happened? Was blame shifted somewhere else? Did he eventually take it on the chin with great honesty? Was he genuinely remorseful? Not remorseful because the camera was running or remorseful because an interview or a podcast was being done, but did it seem like he was genuinely remorseful? Did he admit fault directly? I'm very curious about whether or not that happened. If the answers to those questions are yes, or in the affirmative, or in the manner that most of us, I think, would hope the one would answer that. I see somebody say, Melanie, he did a podcast with Chase and it sounded remorseful. He took all the blame. Somebody else says he took it on the chin. He freely admitted what he'd done. Okay, cool. Awesome. Super cool. Hey, you know what? If somebody had a never-ending film of my life from the day I was born to as I stand here today, it would be just plagued with mistakes. Plagued with mistakes, some of which could be described as horrific, idiotic, hang my head in shame mistakes that I look back and say, who were you when you did that? Wow, you're not even the same person. Most people I know, I think, have things like that in their life. And his was a public one, right? And so if he was truly remorseful, like everyone says, took it on the chin, I'm all for forgiveness. People make mistakes, really big, dumb mistakes on occasion, and I don't think that your mistake, if you own up to it, if you learn from it, if you're remorseful from it, and all those things are true and authentic, I don't think that mistake should define anybody for the rest of their life. I think that would be a profoundly unfair burden for anyone to walk around with. So, based upon what everyone said, Ricky Garard coming back, cool, good stuff. I mean, and the dude was obviously a beast, right? Now I know I couldn't tell you the exact performance-enhancing drug that he did, how much of it did aid in his performance, and all that beats me. We may never know precisely what that was. Obviously it helped. I think that's fair to say. But here's the other deal. performance enhancing drugs or not, the dude's a beast. And obviously, since that day, has never stopped training ferociously like a maniac for a triumphant comeback. And performance enhancing drugs, while obviously helpful, they're not magic, right? And so what I mean by that is, I couldn't have a team of the most renowned scientists come to my house and for the next 6 months give me the most incredible cocktail every day of performance enhancing drugs and win the Masters competition next year. I still wouldn't have a shot in the dark, even if I took all the PEDs in the world, because I'm just not that genetic creature on top of everything else. But obviously, if you have the genetic potential and you have work ethic and discipline and all that, and on top of that you're taking performance enhancing drugs, well, wow. I mean, that's going to be something to behold. But obviously he had all those other things of genetic potential, work ethic, drive, and all of that. And then on top of it took the performance enhancing drugs. But even without those, he still has characteristics which are going to make him a top of the heap athlete compared to most human beings walking the planet. So yeah, he's back. Apparently, we all hope clean and doing quite well. At the end of this, I'll look at the leaderboard. I haven't even looked at the leaderboard, so I couldn't even tell you who's winning the games right now. Caught some things, I was taking care of the baby, doing my life stuff, and watch a heat of something, turn it back on, watch a heat, skip forward to something, but I don't know who's winning or who's losing or who whatever. So that's Ricky Garrard. Okay, here's the one I'm sure everyone's going to be very interested in. The double under crossover craziness, new rules and movements like strict pegboard and one-sided pistols. Okay, here we go. So, I'll talk about the crossover double unders specifically, and then maybe I'll go into just my thoughts on the events in general thus far. So, I've heard people say like, hey, these double under crossovers, is this legit? Like, did you actually test fitness and athleticism or whatnot? Or did you pull out a party trick that some people could do and some people could not do? And if you pulled out a party trick, that seems to fall or ring a little hollow if you say that you're testing fitness, right? Fair. All questions are fair, right? Fair question. So, I don't know how hard those are. I've never done them. They obviously were plenty challenging, since a bunch of people that I would consider quite coordinated and capable of learning complicated things seem to struggle greatly with them. And if something like that is thrown out, now some folks did them and maybe they had them in their backstory, right? Maybe so it wasn't a fair assessment that they just figured them out quickly. If those double under crossovers were going to come out, I like where they did come out. I'll say that you had this round 1, cuts were made. Round 2, complexity increased, cuts were made. Round 3, most complexity, and that's where they showed up. So if they were going to show up anywhere, best to put them at the end there and not in the first round, that's for sure. If I had to armchair quarterback this, which is profoundly unfair of me to do, but I'll go ahead and do it right now. Maybe if you're going to keep those double under crossovers in there, maybe put them at the end as the final movement instead of putting them after the pegboard and before the pistols, whatever it happened to be. Maybe it would have gone pegboard, pistol, handstand walk, that press to handstand, by the way, followed by the P-bar walk, and then at the end, before you cross the finish line, you have to do X amount of double under crossovers. That way, everybody still would have done the pegboard, which they did anyway. You would have had the chance to see darn near everybody do the pistols. Then what you would have gotten to see, specifically on the women's side, since nobody got there, which I really wanted to see, was how many of the women that made it to the final heat could do a press to handstand walk down the parallettes. Then they'd be met with those double under crossovers, and whoever made it through, great, they crossed the finish line, and whoever didn't, It's whoever got there sooner, like got a faster time finishing that press to handstand P-bar walk. And then the men's side as well, yeah, a couple people or maybe one person, like a very small number of people actually did it. Some people got some of those double under crossovers, but not many. But I would have liked to seen the same thing on the men's side. Like had that jump rope been at the very end, I would have loved to seen just how many gentlemen in that final heat could do the press to handstand walk down the P-bar. That would have been really cool. I really wanted to see more people have the opportunity to do that final handstand deal. So that'd be maybe my armchair quarterback piece on that, is sticking it at the end there. And then the other question comes in, we could play this game all day long. Let's say that it had been stuck at the end. There's the test portion, and then there's the how does it look on camera, you getting the crowd involved and all that stuff. Is finishing with the jump rope an exciting finish, more so or less so than finishing with press to handstand, walk across the P-bars, kick down, sprint across the line? All of those things are considerations, but that would be maybe, if those were going to be in there, I'd put them probably at the end. And then the question becomes, for the average CrossFitter, do you need to start doing those tomorrow? Here's your answer. No, you do not. Okay, unless you want to. Let's see. So, now, okay, pegboard and one-sided pistols. Let's go to the events, and I'll chat real quick about the events. So, event number 1, bike to work, which we spoke about kicking off the bat. I know, not the most rah-rah, exciting, flashy thing to do. You know, it's like if you have to watch somebody run a 5K, it's not exactly thrilling by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're talking about putting forth a well-rounded test in which you have to hit from time domain to light loading to no loading to high volume gymnastics to chipper style, etc., something like event number 1, bike to work, you gotta do it. Even if it's not the most fired up thing you've ever seen, you've got to do it. So it was what it was, and mission accomplished largely, I would say. Now, event number 2 should have been that running and jerks, which I'll get to in a second. Can't wait to see that. But what event 3 was, that skill speed medley, which we just finished talking about, with pegboards, the jump rope, and then single leg squats, and then the handstand walk. I'll have to tell you, now I know it was quarterfinal round, semifinal round, and then final round. And the final round is what a lot of people had some consternation with, did I use the word properly, with the double under crossovers. Take the double under crossovers with a grain of salt. Okay, that's one element of the final round after cuts were made every time. That event in general, I absolutely adore. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I think it was really well done overall. I love the fact that the pegboard got harder with each round that went on. I love the fact that, you know, again, we spoke about the rope, but I love that you had to do the single unders, and I love that they had to be unbroken for the games level athlete. And then if you tripped on rep number 74, as awful as that is, you're now back at 0. That stings, and that raises the level of anxiety and coordination for that through the roof. Loved it, quite frankly. And then in round 2, after the cuts were made, that happened, but for a set of double unders, loved it. Now I know in round 3 we get to the crossovers, and like I said, it'd be great if those are at the end. Then the pistols. I love the pistols aspect too. Had to do them in this box, right? That if you hopped out of the box, or if your heel hit the ground, no good. Had to be unbroken. Love it at this level, at the games level. And love it, the fact that you had to do 10 on one leg and then 10 on the other. I really enjoyed that, because you get a little bit of a break going from one leg to the other, one leg to the other. You get a little bit of a reprieve in there, even just for a moment, and you get to have this nice cadence of going back and forth, where if you're a hint off balance, you can almost regain your balance. But when you have to stay on one foot for the entire set of 10, and if you make an error, the stakes are high, again, at the games level, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Then, finally, for the handstand walking, I've been saying for the longest time, that gymnastics does not get the respect that it deserves. Everyone's all goo goo gaga over the barbell, and don't get me wrong, don't quote snipe me and say that I said that lifting heavy is not important. I fundamentally understand that lifting heavy is mission critical. However, I think far too many people have neglected track days, conditioning, the non-sexy stuff that doesn't look good on Instagram, body weight movements, gymnastics movements, strict movements, body control. It's humbling work that makes you feel like you've never worked out in your life, and it's so powerful and beneficial. So to see an emphasis put on body weight and gymnastics movements, high skill through the roof, raise the stakes where you raise the stakes of doing an error was made it so costly. Fantastic. From the straight handstand walk to on the second round where you had to do the pirouette, that was awesome. Having to do the pirouette in the box, that was awesome. And then on the final one, again, I just wish more people had gotten to do it because I wanted to see who could do it. The press to handstand walk down the P-bars, that's no joke. That's no joke at all. And it's awesome, loved it. Wish I could have seen more people do it. That's my regret right there. But that was phenomenal. Okay. And then we've got Elizabeth elevated. Again, maybe I'm the crazy one, but I love the fact that the curveball was thrown again. And again, what does everybody want? Load me up with the barbell, coach. Let me show you how strong I am. And I'm not saying that in a mocking manner. You got to be strong. You've got to be well conditioned. You got to have body weight stuff. But I love that they did squat clean Elizabeth at the weight that all of us do it at, 135 and 95. And what they really messed with was the non-barbell portion of it. Again, upped the ante on your ability to control your body on planet Earth. The P-bars came back out. The shimmy down the P-bars to the dips, really cool. Does that mean everybody has to go put P-bars in their gym? If you got room, great, fantastic. But you'll be fine for the rest of your life even if you don't get on P-bars. But it was a great added element to just pre-fatigue those athletes, to hit them in a bit of a different way, hit them with some unexpected variance, and make those dips at the end harder. And I think one of the commentators said that by the end, if you made it through the entire workout, it was like 150 feet of traversing the P-bars. That's really cool. One little traverse doesn't seem like it's that much, but when you do the math over the course of the event, 150 feet, half a football field, that's no joke. That was really cool. And I also like the fact that instead of jacking up the loading on that, they kept it at the regular loading. They added some 9s at the end, but then they made the time cap very aggressive. And so basically saying, hey, you're super strong, right? And that's cool. And again, I'm not saying that in a mocking manner, but let's go ahead and drop the hammer with 135 and 95. Let's see what we can do here. Let's light yourself on fire. I think that's cool. And I think there was a powerful lesson in there for most of us regular athletes. At the regular loading of 135 and 95, go back and watch it, right? How many of those games level athletes are doing singles? The overwhelming majority are doing singles. The overwhelming majority of games level athletes were not doing touch and goes, even in a workout where they knew they had to drop the hammer. So this actually relates to the topic that I covered on Tuesday's Instagram Live for Linchpin, which was where does the 2159 rep scheme come from? And so many people think that you got to do it unbroken. It's like, no, don't. You don't have to do it unbroken. You've got to do it right. You've got to do it well, and ideally you do it quickly. So Elizabeth elevated, cool. All right, that covers everything that we've seen so far. The event that didn't get to take place on yesterday that will be taking place today is that shuttle to overhead, which I adore, by the way. It's fantastic. It does fit. I just saw somebody post it here in the Instagram comments there. It's one of the classic things we say at Linchpin's like a heavy day at a high heart rate. Run fast and lift heavy. And so Unfortunately, the weather disrupted what I would believe was Adrian's intention, because Adrian had that workout supposed to happen prior to that skill speed medley. So big weight going overhead. I have a feeling that he wanted to have the athletes hit that in a relatively fresh, so to speak, from a pressing standpoint, fresh body feeling, if you will, state of affairs. And then, later in the day, that just makes everything that they were going to do in the P-bar walk and all that more difficult. But rain happened, so now these athletes, depending on how they're feeling, are going to have to press big weight overhead, or jerk, I should say, big weight overhead with shoulders that weren't fresh, because this was supposed to be event 2. They shouldn't have done the skill speed medley, shouldn't have done Elizabeth elevated, but can't control the weather. It is what it is. That's no one's fault either. It's the weather. And so now they're going to have to do these jerks on shoulders that already did all sorts of handstand walking, P-bar, traversing, dips, the whole 9 yards. And your shoulders and lats and chest and everything are certainly engaged in pegboard ascents and things of that nature. And it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how many reps some of these people get in that time domain with loading that is just, for us regular people, loading that is just science fiction. I mean, 300 pounds on the bar for men, 200 pounds for women. I really like the shuttle to overhead. So if you're unfamiliar with it, on the first one, you get a 2-minute window. You have to run 400 meters in that 2-minute window, and then whatever time is remaining, max jerks at that ridiculous weight. You rest 1 minute, one little lousy minute. And then from minutes 3 to 6, so a 3-minute window, you have to do a 600-meter run, max jerks in time remaining. You rest 2 minutes, which I think will be rather quick minutes for the athletes. And then the final glorious one is in a 4-minute window. You run 800 meters and then max jerks in the remaining time. Again, at 300 pounds for men and 200 pounds for women. So absolutely fantastic. Let's see. I see somebody just posted that they have this shirt. Cool. That's awesome. How do I feel about the scoring for laps number 1 that I missed? Covered that at the beginning of this. You can go back and check that out. Or we hit that up. So that's where I stand right now for the games. Let me just click on the leaderboard, and then we'll go to a couple more topics and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, leaderboard for the women overall. Mal O'Brien, no kidding, sitting in first place. Okay, she's got a 6th, a 4th, and a 3rd. Awesome. Emma Lawson, Ariel Lowen. Wow, huh? Christy Aramo O'Connell, good for you. Haley Adams in 5th. I'm a big Haley Adams fan. She just is a hard worker. Alexis Raptis, Daniel Brandon, Tia Claire Toomey in 8th. Dun, dun, dun. How did she, let's see, Tia Claire 2nd on the first one. That's right, 23rd on the skill speed medley, and then 9th on elevated Elizabeth. That's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. So she didn't make one of the cuts there in the skill speed medley. I believe she had a trip that was costly, so can't blame that on the double under crossovers, right? And that happened previous to that. And then that classic CrossFit couplet in 9th, which is a solid performance, but interesting. So she's 61 points behind the leader. And I'll tell you this, I've covered a CrossFit Games or 2 in my life. This leaderboard right now, I don't want to say that it's meaningless, but it could change so much in the next few days that it will blow your mind. So it's always better to be closer to the top of the leaderboard than far away. Nobody wants to have to come up from a deficit, but there's so many things looming in the future. I wouldn't fall in love with a leaderboard right now. We'll see. Maybe we'll do some check-ins later in the week. All right, let's check out the men's side, and then we'll get on to the next couple questions and wrap this thing up here. My baby finally fell asleep. Thank goodness. All right, here we go. Oh, okay. I told you that I hadn't checked the leaderboard. I didn't lie to you. Ricky Garrard is in first place. Really? Really? Okay, now I feel like I'm doing like one of those reacts videos. Interesting. Okay, okay. First on the bike to work, I knew that. Fifth on the skill speed medley, solid. And then seventh on elevated Elizabeth, also solid. Okay. Justin Medeiros, only 15 points behind him in second place. And, oh, Justin's got a third on bike to work, fantastic. A third on the skill speed medley, very impressive. And then 12th on elevated Elizabeth, got time capped. Like I said, that was an aggressive time cap. And if you needed proof that it was an aggressive time cap, Justin Medeiros bumped into the time cap, took 12th, cap plus 3. Interesting. Pat Vellner in third. Wow. Pat Vellner in third. I saw him take first on elevated Elizabeth and get all fired up. That was cool. And I saw him do well on the skill speed medley. Pat Vellner in third. I wonder if he just doesn't know what to do with himself, or if he feels like he's in an alternate universe, because usually he's in like 400th place after the end of day one because he just punted something into the stands, and he has to do this crazy battle back and bring in like a team of UN strategists to figure out what do I have to do and how the point's going to shake out, and my goodness, this is going to be the most stressful thing in my life. I wonder if now he's sitting in third after day one, he's like, oh, I don't know if this is really cool or I'm more stressed out. But that's really cool to see Pat Vellner in third. Yanakowski, Krenikov, exciting to see him hit it up. Lazar, and of course BKG. BKG is just, you can never count that guy out. And then finally, Noah Olson. I'd love to talk to Noah and see what happened. I saw him on the skill speed medley. Something didn't happen on the pegboard. He couldn't get up the pegboard. I saw him just wing his peg into the air out of frustration. I'd be really curious to talk to him and see what happened there. So anyway, okay, that's the quick little recap there. I guess I shouldn't say quick. We've been talking about day one of the games now for 30 minutes. But we'll get into a couple non-games topics, and then we'll wrap this thing up. And I'll close at the end by our first Linchpin Challenge is going to be coming up soon. I'll give you some hints as to what that is. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. Okay. Here we go. Easy one. This one is from Tank K. Great first name, right? Tank. Tank K. Where did the Linchpin name come from? Just when I was looking to start the affiliate, I didn't want to name it after a town, didn't want to name it after anything, and I just started doing a lot of searches for, had some words that I liked, meaningful words, and I'd search for synonyms of those words, and did I like any of those words, and if I didn't, I'd search for synonyms of those other words, and I eventually landed on Linchpin. I just really liked it, and Linchpin is not only, the locking mechanism that you'll see in gear and whatnot, but it's also like the critical element that holds everything together. And that was the definition of linchpin that I really liked, that essential element, the glue, if you will, the key thing that kept all the other aspects moving forward. It was mission critical. And then on top of that, of having a really cool definition, since a linchpin was an actual physical device, I got one right here, let's see. Since a linchpin actually was a physical device as well, perfect logo also. So that kind of worked out well. All right, next one. This is a cool one. This is the final question, and then I'll just do some housekeeping and we'll get out of here. This is from Ted L. Not Ted Lasso, a different Ted L. Butterflies or kipping pull-ups? So butterfly pull-ups or the classic gymnastics style C-kip pull-up for a garage athlete with no serious aspirations to compete. Good question. So neither one is right or wrong. Both done, here's my caveat, right? Hopefully this goes without saying, but both done with proper technique, you should be good to go. Here's what I'll say. The butterfly pull-up is popular because it's quicker, and if you're doing something for time, quicker is usually your friend. And if you do them well, like my wife's a D1 gymnast, former games athlete, she does them well, and they look fine on the shoulders. The problem is, I've seen a fair number of people with the butterfly pull-up that when they get their chin up over the bar and they kind of free fall, I guess for lack of a better way to say it, down, it's profoundly jarring on the shoulders, that bottom position. It almost looks like they're getting yanked out of the socket. I know that's extreme and not the case, but that can be how it looks. And then they whip yourself back up and you almost free fall down, and that stop, that end range of motion hits all the elbow joint, the shoulder joint, and what appears to be for a lot of people a very harsh manner that, in my humble opinion, does not seem to be indicative of long-term joint health. With the gymnastic style C-kip pull-up, yeah, it's a bit slower. Who cares? But once you get to the top of the bar, you're not so much falling almost straight down or through like you are with the butterfly pull-up. The old school gymnastics C-kip will have you pushing away from the bar. That push away from the bar has a much gentler arc that doesn't come to this just abrupt, jarring endpoint on the joints. It almost loads them in a more progressive fashion, if that's the right way to say it, where you make your way into the bottom, you swing back through, you come back up, you push away from the bar instead of going back down. So I've seen a lot of people in my life doing pull-ups, and if I had to make a broad sweeping generalization, I would say that most people seem to be kinder to their shoulders doing the gymnastic style C-kip than the butterfly pull-up. Again, as I said previously, if you move your body well, you have good body awareness, you're staying tight and engaged the entire time, you can certainly do gymnastics butterfly pull-ups well and in a manner that doesn't look detrimental to your shoulders. But it's really easy for a lot of people to degrade to that. And I'll tell you that, I've done plenty of butterfly pull-ups in my life. For where I am now in my fitness journey and what's important to me and wanting to have knees, back, and shoulders that will be good for my kids for years and decades to come, I do not do butterfly pull-ups anymore. I just do old school gymnastics C-style kipping pull-ups, and, a set of 20 with butterfly might take, I'm just throwing numbers out, might take 20 seconds. And with the gymnastic style C-kip, it takes 26, 27 seconds. I'm okay with being 7 seconds slower on that set of pull-ups for how good my shoulders feel in general. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. But if your goal is to, this individual said they're not a competitor, but if you're a competitor, winning matters. If you're working out in your garage, treating your body well matters. Long-term health and fitness matters. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the questions. So I'll give a couple Linchpin shout-outs, chat about the Linchpin Challenge, and we'll wrap it up. So first shout-out is from Matthew T. This is for the limited equipment option, which is dumbbells, or the no equipment option, which is the body weight that we program every day. But every day we give a dumbbell and a zero equipment option. And he says, I usually don't post too much here, but I wanted to share this. Been following Linchpin since the pandemic. Haven't had access to much equipment, so I've done mostly the dumbbell option and the no equipment option, although I did pick up a rower. Anyway, we recently moved, and there's a CrossFit gym down the street, and so I've got some time on my hands. Started going to that local gym during open gym to get in some workouts. And despite only doing the dumbbells and the no equipment stuff for almost 2 years, I have had no trouble at all getting back into the groove with a barbell, a pull-up rig, and all the other stuff. Thanks, Linchpin. Very cool. That stuff does work, and we hear those stories over and over and over again. You will not lose fitness doing the dumbbell option. Here to tell you that. This one is entitled The Power of Not for Time. We always do a not for time option every week. This is from Rachel S. Loving the not for time option. Thank you, coach. It allows me to learn and experiment with movements without the pressure of the clock. I'm a grown-up, an adult, and working out by myself, and I shouldn't need permission to do this, but somehow it makes all the difference. I no longer have a voice in the back of my head criticizing how slow I'm going while learning or rushing to do something. So in the short term, it's been fantastic. So that's awesome. Final Linchpin shout out. And then talk to you about the cool t-shirts and the challenge. This is from Justin T. 1 year on the deadlift and a 30-pound increase. Says I'm a day behind this week. Did my first impress myself PR this morning. July of last year, I had 295 pounds written down for a 1 rep max deadlift. I don't have any more plates, so he basically went up to all the plates that he had, couldn't go any higher, and wound up pulling 325 pounds. So a 30-pound deadlift, had to stop there because he had no more plates. Putting on 30 pounds in a year, very cool. Congratulations. Okay, the Linchpin Challenges. Like I think I said last time, we're going to start doing 1 Linchpin Challenge a month. We're going to go through the Linchpin tests, which are on our website. If you go to CrossFitLinchpin.com, click on the tests, and I think there's 14 of them. So it'll take 14 months. We're going to do 1 a month. Some are really hard. Not a lot of people will be able to do them. Some are easier. More people can do them. We're going to do them all. And I'm going to try to provide a prescribed, a scaled, and a dumbbell option for each one of them. Don't hold me to that, but that's my goal. But before we do the Linchpin tests, those 14 tests, the first Linchpin challenge will just be something different. And it's very simple. It's quintessential Linchpin. It's effective, but it's not popular. There's been guesses going around as to what it will be, and I will tell you that somebody has guessed it correctly. That's all I'll say. The dates I'm thinking for this first one are going to be coming up soon. It's August 4th right now. I think the first Linchpin challenge will be from a Friday to a Monday, August 19th to August 22nd. So August 19th is a Friday, August 22nd is a Monday. Registration will probably open the Monday previous to that. So that's Monday, August 15th. That's when I think registration will open. So that's in like 11 days from now. And truth be told, once the registration opens, you can post your stuff whenever you want. It doesn't have to be that in that 4-day window from Friday to Monday. There's going to be a really cool shirt that I said we put out a design, very simple design, but there's something unique and different that we're putting on the back. I'll let the cat out of the bag on that. I think everyone's going to really like it. I'll show everybody that shirt as the challenge gets a little bit closer. I think it's going to be really, really cool. This is just for fun. Do it if you want to do it. You want to get the shirt. But when I say it's just for fun, it's like nobody needs to be the police in your garage making sure you did something. This is on you. And next time the challenge rolls around, try to do better than you did. So I'm not going to make anybody submit a video. This is not some official thing qualifying you for a sponsorship going to the games. It's just a fun community event. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for people to do it. I'll post the challenge. It should be fun. I'll show you the shirt. Cool shirt. Sign up. We'll celebrate it afterwards. We'll do that once a month. That's my goal. Fun, global community challenge. And the question came out, will international shipping be available for the shirts? And the answer is yes. So it should be very cool. I've got the shirts right over there, but I'm not going to show you yet. We've got a unisex shirt for men and women, and then a women's tank as well. And so you can choose the shirt option or the tank option. And my other goal too is that for every challenge, again 1 a month, to always have just a classic black shirt or tank available, and then a different color each month. So you'll always be able to get the black, and then each month will be a unique color for that particular challenge as well. So that way you should be good to go. So that's it. Have a great day, everybody. Keep enjoying the CrossFit Games, and maybe we'll do some more chats about the events and everything as they unfold. Talk to you later.